Harden splitting. Oh, no one's stopping him. Right to the rack. Splits the D. He's inside, he's outside, he's everything in this one. Nets lead by 17. Transition again. Nice little ball movement from Brooklyn right here. The Mets open for three. Over in the corner. Light one. 16 three-ball of the night there. Nets led by 16 after three. All right, fourth quarter. Nets are up by 20. We're in garbage time. Kyrie almost goes down, stays with it. He's going to shoot after all that effort and make it. Another look. Irving. Beating LeBron on that one. Turn him one way, went the other. Nets up big. The Lakers did not keep it 100. In fact, they gave up 109. The Nets take down Los Angeles out west. I have more statistical information.
Bring it
here. Look at this. In the three-game span, 65 points, 65 made three-pointers, rather, in the last three games. That's the most in a three-game span in NBA history. The Brooklyn Nets lighting it up from way out front.
Tim Legler took copious notes on the Nets-Lakers game. He is on SportsCenter to share them with us. And Timmy, so we don't have KD, but that doesn't really matter in that we thought with this team, ISO ball, that's what we're worried about. So they've been together 4 or 5 weeks here. How do you see this offense, whether it's tonight or the last few games, maturing and growing as they move through the schedule?
Yeah, they really have found their rhythm, and I think the inclusion of the rest of the roster and the way that they look for those guys spotted up at the three-point line, and more importantly, the way those guys are shooting the ball. That supporting cast right now, you put that graphic up there. On this West Coast trip, they made 81 threes in 4 games, and they shot 49% from the three-point line. And it's the extra pass. That's what's been so impressive to me. When you've got this kind of offensive talent, those guys can break down their man anytime they want to. But when you see guys willing to make these extra passes, Kyrie right there on the break, he could have taken that thing to the rim. Instead, the skip pass and then one more pass to the corner to Landry Shamet. For me, that's been the biggest difference in this team on that end of the floor. We know they've got great individual talent, maybe the best we've ever seen in terms of raw offensive scoring ability at the top of a roster with those 3 guys. But ultimately, that won't win a championship. They are going to have to be hard to guard and not predictable, and you do that by moving the basketball and making teams try to chase it. And man, oh man, would I like to come back in my next life and be a guy that right now spotting up for the Brooklyn Nets, because the looks that these role players are getting are phenomenal, but give them credit. They are shooting them at such a high rate that teams really can't make the Brooklyn Nets play honest on that end of the floor. They have just been unstoppable, and if they continue to play this way, this could lead to a title when I think there was a lot of skepticism if it was going to be too heavy at the isolation basketball to do that.
You can say it. You're jealous of Joe Harris. It's fine. You can let out your feelings. He was 6 of 7 from 3. He was remarkable. So we had no KD. We had no AD. And yet, if you hold any team in the NBA these days below 100, and 98, as last I checked, is less than 100. Defensively, that's good work. And from the Nets, where are they improving there? Because they certainly needed it. Early on, there was a lot of just free passes to the hoop.
Yeah, early on in the season, basically, if you broke down your individual defender against the Nets, you were going to get to the rim because they just did not slide over and help. There was no collapsing on the lane on penetration. Certainly nobody making multiple efforts to close out to the three-point line. That's changing, and it really turned this game in the third quarter. They forced 9 Lakers turnovers, and most of these were because of the Nets defense. Just great activity. Look at 5 white jerseys in the lane, high hands. You create traffic. You're going to force some turnovers. Great job right here. James Harden with the extra effort once he's beat to get the rake down. And then again, 4 white jerseys in front of KCP, and you end up drawing that offensive foul. So for me, you can point to different things that are schematic that Steve Nash and that staff have probably come up with. But the biggest thing that I notice, they just care more. There's more accountability on that end of the floor. And when you play harder, good things are going to happen. I've seen great effort getting back in transition. I've seen guys now starting to understand they're not going to leave people hung out to dry on the perimeter. There will be help coming if you get beat off the dribble. And then they're going to chase guys out to the three-point line. They are not an elite defensive team. Let's not ever think they're going to get to that point. But certainly if they can just be average to above average on a given night with what they do offensively. This is a team that really is something special ultimately, but I love the additional effort, and you really saw it in that third quarter against the Lakers.
Here's the thing I noticed, Tim, as we say goodbye. You were more than happy to go to the corner and shoot the three. You didn't volunteer to take a charge on defense. Tim Legler, thanks, brother. You're great.
That's right. I learned that early.
Hey, leave the TV on. It can handle it. We got Zach LaVine, Bothell High School, and the Bulls in Philly taking on Joel Embiid. Eastern Conference leading Sixers, 7:30 Eastern Friday night. Then the Jazz got that win streak going, got the best record in the league up against Kawhi and the Clippers. Coverage starts with NBA Countdown at 7 Eastern on ESPN Regular and the app. Now back on January 6th, the Utah Jazz walked off the floor at Madison Square Garden, having blown an 18-point lead to the Knicks. That came 24 hours after getting trashed by 34 in Brooklyn. They were 4-4 on the season and listed nowhere very high on anyone's basketball power index. It was an early low point for a team in search of a turning point. Evidently, they have found it. Winners now in 20 of their last 21. Utah has the best record in the league. How did they turn it around? Our Royce Young has the answer.
Over the past 40 days, the Jazz have transformed into an unlikely NBA juggernaut.
Oh, Donovan Mitchell! Oh, boy, Rudy Gobert! Acted on Wow!
They've won 20 of their last 21 games and have done it with historic superiority, becoming the first team to ever record 18 wins by 10 or more points in a 21-game span. The question is, how did they do it?
Whoa, let me back up for a minute.
Donovan Mitchell tracked it back to the confidence the team built in the bubble, pushing the Nuggets to 7 games and falling an in-and-out 3 away from advancing.
This ain't the end. This is just the beginning.
But they also have unique stability and consistency. 92% of their minutes have come from players on the team last season. They have only used 3 different starting combinations, tied with the Bucks for the fewest in the league. And their primary lineup, Mike Conley, Bojan Bogdanovic, Rudy Gobert, Royce O'Neal, and Mitchell, have played 282 minutes together this season, outscoring opponents by 103 points, the best of any 5-man group this season. And on top of it, Jordan Clarkson is a clear leading candidate for 6th Man of the Year, playing the best basketball of his career. The Jazz identity is one built on the defensive anchoring of Gobert.
Our defense, let's go.
And Mitchell has affirmed himself as a reliable star, elevating into the MVP conversation. They played together, evidenced by a game in which they had 4 players score at least 25, leaning on ball movement, ball reversals, and dead-eye shooting. They call it the blender in Utah, when the ball starts zipping all over the floor and opposing defenses get twisted into knots trying to follow it.
Spectacular ball movement by Utah.
They're averaging